Cheers and salutations, all you hip, cool cats. My name is Kit. This is Chicago Reacts. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that ring bell notification. That way, all of you are made aware when we upload new content upon our YouTube channel. And today, we have ourselves a fun video to check out. It is from a fan with too much time. That's right, we are still continuing on with Season 2, Masters of Pain, with a Warhammer 40k versus Star Wars short special called Red Eyes, Revelations, and a Bucket. So let's go ahead and find out what's going on. And listen, folks, I want to make it very clear. You know, I've been reading some of the comments where people saying, hey, Kit, can't wait for you to check out how the story continues on. Oh, wow, you are really pro-Imperial. And yes, I am. I have made it abundantly clear. My bias is towards the glorious Imperium of mankind. Now, look, I do respect Star Wars as an intellectual property. I do. It's just what Disney's done to it, guys. I mean, did you see that recent Acolyte trailer? Have you seen that poster? I mean, it looks like the dog skidded across the road or on the rug, and it looks like one big shite stain. And you know what? I'm going to go there even further. The internet's been absolutely brutal. It looks like a bloody looks like a bloody tampon. I mean, like somebody just right there. I mean, come on, Star Wars fans. How much more abuse can you take? And now George Lucas is involved in regards to who's going to be running Disney. I mean, I thought he divorced himself from all of this. Star Wars fans, I'm so sorry what y'all are going through. I hope that never happens to Warhammer 40k fans or the fandom or the intellectual property, because in the hands of these multi-billion-dollar corporations, it's very clear they only have short-term profit. They don't respect the fans. They don't respect the lore. And Star Wars has been just embarrassed. I remember the glory days of the old expanded universe, those fun adventures, and knowing that all Disney IPs were trying to direct everything to the new sequel trilogy, and that it's all leading up to that. No matter how many times you want to put out the member berries or show how great a show is, or they have all the stuff that it's all leading up to the sequel trilogy. It makes all the sacrifices that the rebellion did look null and void. And I'm just going to have this opinion. It tells me that the Empire was correct, Palpatine was correct, and fighting for the Republic. Like that scene from Andor where the guy says, what are you going to sacrifice? And he goes on that minute speech like, I'm sacrificing everything so I could burn and see, so someone else can see a new dawn. Right here for that. The rebellion, the old Republic, is a joke, which is why I am siding with the Imperium of mankind. Because the Republic needs to be destroyed. Heaven forbid that what comes after it arises. So let's enjoy this. That was my rant. Let's enjoy this. Star Wars vs. Warhammer 40k short specials. Red Eyes, Revelations, and a Bucket. Glory to the Imperium. Oh, I nearly forgot. Please support the original content creator. A fan with too much time. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and follow them on all their social medias. The original link is in the description box below. liking us already. Ominous tone.
Come on, Doc. It's getting late. I'm not sure I've ever had a field watch that lasted as long as whatever you're doing right now.
Now, by the way, I clicked on the playlist for season 2, and this came after the last previous episode that I reacted to. So, whose voice is this? A fan was too much time. You're up and up your game. All right.
The Clone Guardian groaned. He lightly dinged his helmeted head against the metal cover over one of the many arrayed supercomputing ports that were lined up, going out for miles in either direction. They were stacked in rows, with hallway space between them for engineers and technicians to access them. Dr. Sheena ignored Bucket, working from her chair, which she had parked nearly within one of the maintenance alcoves. Doc, I'm starving over here. Can you at least explain to me what you've been doing for the last, 12 hours? I'm not used to being around someone not talking to them, Bucket whined. Sheena took a deep breath, first in and then slowly out, though her fingers did not cease their tapping, and her eyes, bloodshot and intense, did not blink. Before her were data streams and hollow access points, each laid out and scrolling past at simultaneous interludes which she had set. 8 of her digital proxies were maneuvering within the system, operating at various levels, and all at her direction. Currently, all of them were occupied, each one engaging with the security system of the Senate's communications record cache in one way or another.
I've been trying to slice into the Supreme Chancellor's private communications history,
She murmured, dry eyes darting. Bucket slumped at the news and shook his head. Why? Don't you work for the Chancellor? He asked.
We all work for the Supreme Chancellor,
The doctor said, dismissing the comment with barely a thought. Bucket crossed his arms and shook his head more vehemently. I mean, you work with the Supreme Chancellor directly, right? Can't you just ask him to let you see? He suggested. She'd almost paused and found herself laughing. It was the first time she'd laughed in days. But the laughter was not of a genuine sort.
It's because I work with him that I know that would never work. Sure, he will placate me, maybe show me something he wants me to see, but if it's something he doesn't want people to know, then I won't see it. At best, I'll be deceived. At worst, well, he'll know I know something about something he doesn't want me to know, and I'd rather not make an open enemy of my employer, much less the Supreme Chancellor,
She said. Bucket tilted
Quit betraying the Supreme Chancellor. Loving the voices, though.
his head. And the way you are choosing to not make an enemy of the Supreme Chancellor is by illegally slicing into his holo records, he asked. Sheena nodded.
More or less.
She said. But then why even bother? If he finds out you did this, you'll be his enemy no matter what you find, even if you find nothing, Bucket said. Dr. Sheena nodded and licked some sweat off of her upper lip. She knew that. Of course she knew that. Her heart was beating so fast and had been for all of these 12 hours. She felt exhausted, but nothing she felt now could compare to what she'd felt back on the Honor Hound.
That's right. Glory to the Space Marine. Crush those lousy clone commandos.
Nothing could scare as much as that thing she had seen. That thing that had killed Renfi, killed Gaffin, and everyone else on that ship.
Yes.
That thing had not been human. She was sure of it.
It is a representation of what humanity can become. Thank you very much.
It had been too large, too powerful. Its eyes still blazed, still watched her from her memory, burning, kindling, judging.
Yes.
Its last words whispered to her in her dreams, in her idle moments, in the maw of silence.
Know your place, Zeno. Oh, we're listening to that again.
Last words whispered to her in her dreams, in her idle moments, in the maw of silence.
I am the angel of death.
Yes.
And I have come to render judgment.
The natural question then,
Perfect.
of course, was, for what? Judgment about what?
Offending humanity, attacking innocent Imperial starships, standing up against humanity. having the audacity of fighting against the Imperium of mankind. Yes, you must be judged.
What was it judging, and why? Why had it judged them all worthy of death? But she had that answer already, yet while she knew why, she did not know why. Doc? Asked the clone bodyguard.
Bucket, do you remember what happened right before the battle? There was a situation. One of the enemy ships had come out of hyperspace right in front of the fleet and ahead of its own forces. It was a huge ship.
She said. Bucket nodded, the back of his helmet clinking against the casing he leaned against. Though she did not turn to watch him, fingers still in a frenzy, eyes still wide as she worked. I remember, he said.
And then something happened. One of our ships broke ranks. Do you remember that?
She asked, her voice a breathless whisper, as though she feared she might be overheard. Bucket nodded again. Yeah, I remember that. Captain Kraken lost his mind and suicide rammed the enemy ship. We were almost part of the group sent to help evacuate the wreckage. If we'd been... Well, then we wouldn't have been in trouble, he said.
Good. I'm glad you know that much. But do you know which ship Kraken used to do it?
She asked. The clone shrugged as he answered. Well, I guess it would be his ship. The Honor... Hound, he started to say, trailing off, already realizing that made no sense.
It wasn't.
She confirmed for him.
It was a new ship, a modified Venator called the Bellador, which was given over to Renfi just before the mission began. That ship was personally gifted to him by Supreme Chancellor Palpatine.
Well, that's odd, I guess, Bucket said. Sheena nodded, tapping roughly against the glass keys of her chair-mounted console.
It gets odder. I was on the bridge when it all happened. Kraken was getting our commands, was hearing our transmissions, but he wasn't responding. He chose not to respond. It was like he just...
She started to say, struggling to find the words. Just following orders.
Following orders. Yes, and he made the worst mistake ever. Attacking the Imperium.
Bucket muttered softly.
Exactly. I almost want to say he was in a trance, but if you've seen the holo, then you know how precise that jump needed to be to actually hit its target. Captain Kraken was lucid, and he was at the helm, and he used all his skill to cleave that huge ship right down the center,
said the doctor. And doing that... Fragging moons of frag! Doing that started this whole war in the process! Bucket said, only realizing the implication of the act.
Yes, that's the part that's obvious, Bucket. But there's just one particular thing that does not add up. Even more than all these other oddities. One thing that is pushing me to find out more, despite the obvious risk.
Sheena said. And what's that? Asked the clone.
All Republic hyperdrives have inhibitors built into them. Fail-safes that pull the ships out of hyperspace if a sufficient mass shadow is detected in the path of the vessel. These are hardwired, and undoing that...
Now, no one tell that to Kathleen Kennedy or Ryan Johnson. You see, those... sorry, I don't mean to be ragging Star Wars fans, but man, boy, oh boy, did they screw you guys over with those new sequel trilogies. Everything leading up to... Ray Palpatine. Almost said Ray Skywalker. Ray Palpatine. Palpatine. Ay. That whole Holdo maneuver. By the way, Holdo destroyed her fleet. All right? She had to have been inside with the first order or whatever. And no, I didn't buy tickets to see Disney Star Wars The Last Jedi. I actually saw it pirated. I know. Wasn't going to spend money on that.
Safety takes time and equipment. Too much time, in fact.
Bucket paused to consider her words, but shook his head after a while. I still don't get it. The doctor sighed, breathing out her annoyance and increasing the rate of her tapping fingers.
The Bellador was modified for fringe space exploration. Its modifications included non-standard changes to critical systems, the shields, the crew quarters, the life support systems, the navigation sensors, and...
she said, letting the last word hang in the air. Bucket fumbled with his thoughts for a moment before gasping as the answer struck him. The hyperdrive? He asked.
Precisely! The listed changes appear to make it seem safe enough, but I'm not convinced of that. Not after the Bellator succeeded in accurately throwing itself down the center of that Imperial starship.
Sheena said. Wait, so you think the Supreme Chancellor had already prepared that ship to be used as a suicide ram? Bucket asked, aghast at the very suggestion. Sheena did not answer. She only typed more. Bucket, however.
Oh, Palpatine, you devilish rogue, you. What, at the end of the day, look, I gotta really respect Palpatine. At least he had a plan. His biggest mistake was actually ending the Clone Wars after the 4-year mark. He should have let it continue on and amass more power, and eventually, through time, like, let's say the cloning process would become more expensive, then start doing the drafting of the stormtroopers, slowly killing off the Jedi piecemeal, piecemeal, piecemeal. I mean, he could have just kept going on and on and on and on and on and on. He needed more patience. Patience. I know. Kid, how could you side with the Empire? Well, after what the sequel trilogy showed me, the Republic's shite. After what the Mandalore apparently shows, like the Republic is shite. How is it? Seriously, someone explain this to me. How is it that, okay, after the Galactic Empire is defeated, you start dismantling the whole Imperial fleet and all the infrastructure and businesses with it? You're going to have trillions of people unemployed. Trillions of people who are out of work, have no money whatsoever. Yeah, Mon Mothma, brilliant plan. Brilliant plan, Leia. Yeah, stupid. Waste of time. I'm going to say, I speak with ghosts. I've sacrificed everything. That speech from Andor. Andor's a great show. But I look at that speech right there, and people say, wow, what a great speech. I look at it, and all I would say to him is, you're a clown and a joker. I can't take you seriously.
However, continued.
Enjoy talking to ghosts. You're still talking to them, as you are a ghost yourself.
But if that were the case, then wouldn't the order to ram the ship have come from...
And now you know why I need to know.
Palpatine.
Maybe the ship had a ram feature that Captain Kraken abused, maybe he was drugged, or replaced by a separatist infiltrator, or got the order from somewhere else. But the simplest answer is often the correct one. And in this case, the simplest explanation is...
Dr. Sheena said before trailing off. A silence started then, and the clone seemed to take his position as lookout much more seriously. Sheena's hovering chair was wired to a nearby console, and while this section of the Senate's labyrinthian technical and maintenance access spaces had been utterly deserted for all the hours that they had spent there thus far, suddenly, everything seemed much less safe than it had been before, at least to the clone. Doc? Bucket said.
Yes?
She asked. I'm no computer expert, but if you actually managed to break into there, won't there be some sign that you did this? I'm sure you cannot listen to the Supreme Chancellor's personal communications without leaving a footprint. Sheena smirked and nodded.
Well, I wouldn't phrase it quite like that, but yes, which is why I'm not trying to listen to anything.
She said. Then what are you even looking for? He asked.
Simple.
She said.
A timestamp.
What? He asked. She breathed heavily and prepared herself for another explanation.
If I can see if a message was sent and get a timestamp, then I can see if it was just sent before the ramming happened. It won't prove anything, not by itself, but...
But it will be way too convenient to be coincidence, he finished for her. She nodded. But if you find out, and the message was sent, then what next? Who do we tell about something like this?
Nobody. He controls the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to stay alive. I need him. He needs to save my panda bear, my Padme.
The Jedi? Bucket asked.
No.
Sheena almost laughed again.
The Jedi? No. They are either in on it themselves at some level, or, if they are not, they are bound to do something ridiculous. Can you imagine if the Jedi tried to arrest the Chancellor over this? If he really did...
Oh, yeah. Because you'd have, Mace Windu, in the name of the Galactic Senate, you are under arrest. I am the Senate. Good old Kit Fisto. By the way, Kit Fisto brings shame to the name Kit. That smiling green squid face dude.
Did orchestrate these events, then there is no telling what else he is capable of. He could tear the Republic apart, and it would be as easy as issuing Order 66 just before his arrest.
She said. Order 66? Asked Bucket. The doctor nodded her head as she continued her work.
It's one of the 150 contingency orders that were drafted at the onset of the Clone Wars. They are supposed to be just for show, but who knows what would happen if he actually issued them.
She said. So who do we tell, if not the Jedi? The Senate? Bucket asked.
Almost.
She said before one of her screens turned blue, and then all of them followed suit. Dr. Sheena pulled her hands away from the keys abruptly as a new data stream began to fill her view, and she blinked her bloodshot eyes for the first time in too long, wanting to be sure she was reading this correctly, wanting to avoid an error at all costs. Whoa! What was that? Bucket asked, leaning in towards the alcove.
I'm in.
Sheena whispered, eyes scanning frantically. And? Bucket asked, voice tight as he came to watch over her shoulder. Her hand snapped out, tapping a key, and the data stream froze. She lifted her finger to one line, tracing under the holographic script, feeling her heart beat harder and harder as she read it again and again.
There it is.
She said at last.
A private transmission sent from the office of the Chancellor to an unmarked vendor. Unmarked, but within the war theater we were operating within. The message was sent only a few minutes before the ram. Frag! Only seconds before Kraken broke the formation. It's all right there.
The doctor breathed. Oh, Scrog and Scrog! Bucket moaned. So what now? He asked. The words seemed to snap Dr. Sheena back to reality, and she reached for the keys again, starting the process of covering her tracks, minuscule though they were.
We need to get in contact with the leader of the Loyalist Committee.
She said. Who? Bail Organa? Why him? The clone asked.
Ugh, Organa.
No.
Said the Saurian doctor.
The real leader of the Loyalists. We need to speak with the only person in the Senate with the backing and backbone to even think about doing anything about this.
She said. Bucket shrugged his shoulders.
Oh, Panda Bear?
Who's that? He asked.
Senator Padme Amidala.
Said Sheena.
And we need to speak with her before she leaves for Axum.
And she's and that's where the fight's happening. No! Well, it won't affect me anyways if Panda Bear dies in Axum. So it's all good. All good. I mean, okay. Wow. All right. All right. Well, that was a little bit of a short special. But why not go ahead and have just one more mini episode? So that way we can go ahead and enjoy this. And I mean, why not? Why not? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna enjoy another episode. So the only way you're gonna find out is if you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and be sure to hit that ring bell notification. That way you're made aware when we go ahead and upload new content upon our YouTube channel. But please be sure to support a fan with too much time. So as always, folks, you outstanding hip cool cats, you beautiful people, stand with the Imperium, stand with the Emperor of Mankind. After all, the Republic is corrupt. It has the Sasari, the Sith. It has the Jedi, foul Xenos, and democratic values. Stand with the Imperium. You know where you stand, fighting with the glorious God Emperor of Mankind. He is always at your side. My name is Kit. This has been Chicago Reacts, and I'll see all of you hip cool cats on the flip side. Take good care of yourselves and each other. Bye.